At what was supposed to be a happy family party, my parents dropped a bombshell on me. In front of everyone, aunts, uncles, cousins, my mom, with a face like stone, said, "In our eyes, you're already dead to us." The room went silent. You could hear a pin drop. My dad just nodded in agreement, his arms crossed. Why? Because I chose a career path they didn't approve of. I decided to become a graphic designer instead of a lawyer like they'd always dreamed. To them, my passion was a betrayal of their expectations. For years, every family gathering was a trial. "When are you going to get a real job?" my uncle would ask. "You're wasting your talent on silly drawings," my aunt would add. I tried to explain that graphic design was a real profession, that I was building a successful freelance business, that I was happy. But they didn't want to hear it. They saw my life as a failure, a stain on the family's reputation. Their approval was a conditional love I could never seem to earn. That night, their words cut deeper than ever before. "You're already dead to us." It echoed in my head. I looked around the room at the faces of my family, some looking away in discomfort, others with a glint of what looked like satisfaction. I felt a strange calm wash over me. For so long, I had been chasing their validation, bending over backward to please them, sacrificing my own happiness for a scrap of their approval. And for what? To be publicly disowned over a career choice. Something inside me snapped. I stood up, my hands no longer shaking. I looked my parents straight in the eye and said, with a voice much clearer and stronger than I expected, "If I'm already dead to you, then you've just freed me from a lifetime of trying to please ghosts." A few people gasped. I continued, "You're right. The person you wanted me to be, that version of me is dead. And I'm glad. Because the person standing here right now is alive, happy, and successful on my own terms. And I no longer need your permission to be." I picked up my bag and walked towards the door. No one tried to stop me. As I stepped out into the cool night air, I didn't feel sad or angry. I felt liberated. It was like a massive weight had been lifted from my shoulders. The family I had tried so desperately to belong to was never really my family at all. They loved an idea of me, not the real me. And that was a painful but necessary truth to accept. The weeks that followed were quiet. The constant, critical text messages stopped. The guilt-tripping phone calls ceased. It was strange at first, this silence. I had grown so used to the background noise of their disapproval. But soon, the silence turned into peace. I poured all that newly freed energy into my work. My client list grew, my portfolio expanded, and I started collaborating with artists I'd admired for years. I was thriving. I also started building a new family, a chosen family. My friends, who had supported me through all the drama, became my rock. They celebrated my successes, listened to my frustrations, and loved me for who I was, not who they wanted me to be. We had our own family dinners, our own holidays. It was a family built on mutual respect and genuine affection, something I had craved for so long. About a year later, I received a call from an unknown number. It was my cousin. She sounded hesitant. "Hey," she started, "your mom and dad. They're not doing so well. They miss you. They were asking about you." I listened patiently. She told me they were starting to regret what they had said, that the family gatherings felt empty without me. The old me, the people-pleasing me, would have jumped at this chance. I would have seen it as an olive branch, a sign that they were ready to change. But I was different now. I had learned a valuable lesson about self-worth. I calmly told my cousin, "I appreciate you calling, I really do. But for someone who's dead, I'm doing surprisingly well. My life is full. If they truly regret what they said, they know how to find me. But an apology needs to be more than just words. It needs to be a change in behavior. Until I see that, I have to protect my peace." It wasn't about revenge. It was about boundaries. It was about recognizing that I deserved to be in relationships, even with family, that were nurturing, not toxic. Cutting them off wasn't an act of hate. It was an act of self-love. I had to let go of the hope that they would one day become the parents I needed them to be, and accept them for who they were. People I couldn't have in my life if I wanted to be healthy and happy. That phone call was the last I heard from them for a while. I continued to build my life, my business, and my chosen family. I traveled, took on exciting projects, and found a partner who celebrated my creativity. My life was vibrant and full of love. Sometimes, a pang of sadness would hit me late at night, a grief for the family I wished I had. But it was fleeting. The peace and happiness I had built for myself were far more powerful. Then, one day, a letter arrived. It was from my mother. It was long, handwritten, and tear-stained in places. It wasn't full of excuses. It was a genuine, heartfelt apology. She wrote about her fears, her own unfulfilled dreams that she had projected onto me. She admitted how wrong they were, how their pride had blinded them to my happiness. She didn't ask me to come back. She just asked for forgiveness and said she understood if I couldn't give it. Reading that letter, I didn't feel triumph. I felt a quiet sense of closure. It was the apology I never thought I'd get. I decided to write back. I told them I forgave them, but that rebuilding a relationship would take time and effort from both sides. It wouldn't be like it was before, because I wasn't the same person. I was stronger, and I wouldn't compromise my well-being ever again. We started slow, a text here, a short phone call there. It was awkward, but it was a start. They began asking about my work with genuine interest. My dad even admitted he'd looked at my online portfolio and was pretty impressed. It was a small step, but it was a step in the right direction. The story isn't over, and our relationship is still a work in progress. But I learned that sometimes, you have to be willing to walk away from everything you've ever known to find out who you truly are. And sometimes, by declaring your independence, you create the space for others to finally see you. So if you're out there feeling trapped by expectations, remember that your happiness is worth fighting for. Setting boundaries is not selfish, it's necessary. And the bravest thing you can do is to live your life authentically, even if it means disappointing some people along the way. Your true family, whether born into or chosen, will celebrate you for it. Thanks for listening to my story. If it resonated with you, I'd love for you to subscribe and join our community. See you in the next one.